Doing, guys? Welcome to another live session of the Watercraft Journal. I'm your host. My name is Kevin Shaw. I'm the editor-in-chief of the Watercraft Journal, and we want to welcome you guys to tuning in tonight. We have a lot of stuff to talk about. We have a really great night lined up for you guys, so I'm pretty stoked on this one. It took some going with our guest tonight. He's got a hell of a schedule and a heck of a workload, so I'm really stoked to bring on our guest. First and foremost, I want to do a little bit of news. Just give me 2 minutes. We're going to go over a couple things with the channel and with the magazine, and then we're going to get right into it. First, a lot of you guys have already seen that we have put up reviews for the 2024 RX-PX, RX-TX, and GTRX, the 300. And the next two review videos that we have coming up are on the new tricks, and that should be done, I believe, by the end of this week, if not early next week. And then after that will be the much delayed, it got pushed back quite a bit, but our review of the Turbo Balassi. We got to test that out down in Australia. We have the video for it, and it got bumped way the heck back when all the 24s got released. As you can understand, we had to prioritize with that. So make sure you tune into the channel for that. We have the articles on the Watercraft Journal. That's watercraftjournal.com. If you want to read the scripts and read the details that we have. Sometimes I know I talk too fast in the videos, and so a lot of people are like, what the hell did he just say? So if you want to read it through, you can go over to the article that's published at Watercraft Journal, and it's there for you. Right now, the PX 325 is up. The TX will be up next week, and then the 300 will be after that. So I've completely reversed it because I am disorganized. But anyway, so that is to be said. We have those two videos coming up that are big, that a lot of people have been waiting for. And then content-wise, we on the magazine have our World Finals coverage. We're talking to a few of the racers. And Jessica Waters, our new editor, is talking to a lot of the racers to try to get their perspective on this year's World Finals. If you missed out this weekend, Hydro Drags was witness to a world record breaking top speed from the guys at CRT Racing. They were able to knock out an unreal 142 miles an hour on a GP 1800R SVHO. Now, mind you, there's very, very little that is stock in regards to this 142 mile an hour ski, but you have to understand it is a 7 mile an hour gain over the standing record. We are going to be reaching out to a lot of the guys involved with that. There's no way on God's green earth they're going to share the secrets because it's hyper competitive in regards to how are they getting the speeds out of that. But we will be able to get some really good 30,000 foot view information on that build. So hang on tight for that one. That's going to be a really cool story as well. So that being said, I want to bring on tonight's guest. I am very excited to bring on multi-time national and world champion Dustin Farthing, who has been incredibly busy this year. Dustin, welcome to the Watercraft Journal podcast. Oh, we've lost your audio. Can you hear me? We lost your audio, Dustin.
How about now? You got it?
You're perfect.
There we go. Sorry about that. Sorry about that.
No. Yeah. You're fine. You're fine.
Thanks for having me.
My pleasure. Absolutely my pleasure. I know I was trying to get Dustin in right after he won the national championship for AquaX, and he goes, bro, I'm getting on a plane for Havasu right now. And I'm like, let's wait till after finals. So you ran a heck of a series this year, and we're going to get into that. And I jokingly teased John Rawl at Kawasaki. He's the busiest man, and I know in power sports, but I think you're a close second. You wear a lot of hats, my friend, and so I'm thankful that you're able to carve out some time tonight to hang out with us and talk with the show.
Yeah, I wouldn't miss it. Any chance to talk about watercraft racing and just the sport in general, I don't take that for granted. And, I love the industry, love the sport, been in it a long time. And anytime that I can give some information, whether it be helpful or not helpful. And, I'm always down to talk about that.
Well, I want to think the last time that you and I got to talk even face to face, it was at your office back at Mountain Motorsports in Marietta. And that was, oh my gosh, probably 7 years ago.
Yep.
Since then, I didn't get a chance to go by. It was at Speed Zone.
Yep. We had a couple stores, Speed Zone in Alabama. Yep.
Okay. Yeah. I did get a chance to go by Speed Zone, and it was just one of those things. I was like, damn it. And I kept putting it off. And so now have you moved on from there?
Yeah. So I had 6 stores in Georgia, which is the Mountain Motorsports business that I started back in 2010. Ryan and I started, and I ran that business all the way through 2019 and the end of 2018 beginning, and sold that company in 2018. And then in 2019, I opened the Speed Zone dealerships in Alabama, and then operated those for a little over 2.5 years. And then I also sold those companies out to back to the Mountain guys as well, the guys that took over Mountain. And so they bought those stores as well. And I bought this business in Alabama, knowing that was my goal, was to take those businesses. They were kind of a family mom and pop stores, kind of turn them into a big operation. And we built some dealerships. When we bought those stores, they were doing, probably about 400 units a year, new motorcycles, watercraft, side-by-sides. And when I sold those, we were doing a little over 2,000 units a year. So it was a big growth. And, we were doing 2,000, 2,200 a year. And so it was a big growth. We had an instant, business growth over there. And that was my plan, was to eventually sell those stores out to somebody. And whether it been one of the other guys in Alabama or somebody from another state. We're selling into the Georgia market pretty hard, and getting a lot of business from the Atlanta market. So the best thing they thought they could do, obviously, was to buy the store so they didn't have to compete against them any longer. So, and that's kind of what we knew. And I actually gave the Mountain guys the opportunity to buy those stores in Alabama when I was going to buy them. And at the time, it was more than they could bite off, more than they could chew, and they didn't have the people. I was leaving, and obviously the cash, to go do something different. And I said, well, I'm going to go do it. And if it works good, I'll come back to you guys. And it was definitely a accelerator, rocket ship. Actually, it was one of the fastest growing businesses I've ever grown. And we took the right people in the place, and it was an amazing operation. And we're able to, turn those into very profitable stores.
That's killer. Because it was when you jumped into Marietta with Ryan, it was an avalanche of store openings over those, you said 6 stores in the Atlanta area.
Yeah.
And it was like bam, 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 bam. And I was like, holy cow.
Yeah.
And then you go in the Speed Zone, and it was just one store, and it opened up into 3 or 2?
2 stores. Yeah. When I moved to Georgia, we had, the Marietta store was about, when I moved there originally, opened that first store in Marietta, it was about 12 employees. And then we had about maybe 20 at the Conyers location. When I sold the Georgia location, we had about 240 employees. And we grew those stores very quickly. And my main focus was growth, try to buy as many stores. And my plan was to buy as many as I can in the metro market and surrounding. So I'm sure but maybe some people don't know, with the OEMs, it's basically like car dealerships. We have franchise laws, and 10, 12, 14 mile radius of the dealership, they can't open another dealership. So I built a big circle around the city of Atlanta, so nobody can pretty much open a store. We pretty much had, out of all the dealerships, we had every store besides 2 within like 100-mile radius.
Wow. Yeah. It was really impressive. And and it wasn't just you guys running around and buying stores. You went into a Mountain Motorsports store, and like the Marietta store was a freaking rock show. I mean, that place was rad.
Yeah,
and it was all themed out, and it was, I mean, it was like going into one of like the really themed Bass Pro shops. It really had a really good feel to it, and it was sectioned into watercraft and motorcycle and off-road, and then you had the speed shop side of it and service, and there were, I mean, even oh shoot, what was the one that Craig Warner worked at for a little bit? What was the location? What was the name of that?
Lithia Springs.
Yeah, and I mean that one, I showed up right in the middle of you guys refurbishing it.
Yeah.
So I mean, I really got to give it to you that you guys had not only that sort of business model of building that network, but also making it experiential. So that was something really cool.
We try to build, customer stores that customers wanted to come to and hang out and shop in and have a full experience. We understand that, customers come, they enjoy where they're at. They like hanging out there. They come on weekends and, on Saturdays and stuff when nothing's going on, and they can come check out what's all the selection. We try to build, most of our stores were 40 to 60,000 square foot facilities with hundreds of units on display. And, we built pool tables and lounges and made it ride to destination stores that people wanted to come to. And it's how we were able to go out and, grow so quickly. And, really, we were one of not the first people that go out and buy multiple stores and start doing that. There's other companies in the US, but we were really kind of one of the first on the East Coast to kind of, start going after one after another very quickly. In a matter of a 5-year period, we gained, 6 stores in 4 or 5 years.
Well, agreed. And I think, but one of the biggest things, and it's going to come back to this, is your attention to making it experiential. And hey, it's a place to hang out, or we want to invite clubs and groups to meet here. And what you're doing in that sense, I see repeating right now, and I'm jumping the gun. I have kind of some questions laid out, but I see that happening again with the Farthing Racing YouTube channel, and we'll get into that in a little bit. But I think, again, it is placing your stores and placing that channel as a beacon to attract more people to it. And that's something that I really got to give you credit for. But on the flip side, while you were building these stores and while you were building this business, I always saw you racing. Now, mind you, it might have been, hey, I'm just going to jump into a ski class, or I'm going to sport spec, or I'm going to go, I'm going to go sport class racing. And it was always funny because it was like, even though we knew you were busy as hell, I always saw you racing. So that takes effort, that takes time, it takes money. So I don't know how to say this better, but it's like, what is constantly dragging you back to the starting line, even when you have so many other irons in the fire?
So it is crazy. The only year that I missed racing, I took off one entire year in 2015. Was the only year I didn't race any races.
Okay.
And I didn't race any races that year. No World Finals, no national tour. I didn't race any international stuff. And I kind of said that was going to be my 1-year break to see kind of what I wanted to do, and if I still missed it, and if I love the sport. And to be honest with you, it's when I was younger, obviously it drug me back just because I loved, just the side of it. And, as I become older, it's kind of drug me back in because my kids were in it. I was going to be there. But to be the biggest thing is, man, I love the competition. I love the drive. I love the motivation that it takes to get up and to do it. And, it's funny. I love racing all these young kids and, talking smack to them and stuff. And it's basically when I went from, watercraft racing as a kid, and I've gone into multiple business ventures in my life, and I've gone into construction. I had a big construction business for 10 years. And, and I kind of started that thing small, like mom and pop type thing. And by the time we were done, we were building 1,500 houses, 2,000 houses a year. And, and it's always that same mindset, and taking me into the dealership side as well. Everything I've ever done has kind of been pretty much like racing, where I can't get enough of it. I have a very addictive personality. And I always say that it's a good thing that I've only been addicted to racing because I would probably go into overload and not be able to handle it. I don't drink, I don't do anything, and it's I don't know how to do things in, my wife says, small doses, and that's not, unfortunately, I don't know how to do that.
Okay, I'm going to call you out on something. I told you I wanted to do any gotcha questions, but I got one for you.
All right.
Cody Hawkins.
Yeah.
Cody Hawkins told me, because I had made the joke to Cody. I was like, we were talking about when he used to race with you.
Yeah.
And he says, man, I really owe Dustin, Dustin and his dad, Phil, they helped me out when I was getting my feet wet and all this stuff. And I go, that guy is like vibrating. How does he have that kind of energy? Is he on, is he all spun up? And he goes, Kevin, the only thing I've ever seen of Dustin is that he's got the diet of a 10-year-old with $100 bill.
That's it.
He says he eats candy and sugar.
Yeah. I just had a pint of ice cream a minute ago after I got done eating. Everyone that knows me, any of my friends, all like the people, Riva and all the people I've worked with over the years, they'll tell you, what is Dustin? They'll say he's addicted to candy, man. He eats it by the pound. I have Skittles. I always joke I need like some sponsorship by Skittles and sour Coke bottles and all the candy I can get, man. My diet, you would think I'm about 300 pounds with the way I eat.
Yeah. Well,
I keep the dentist in business.
Yeah, there you go. There you go. So that was my only thing. Was that he's like, Cody's like, hand to God, that guy. It's like he stole it. It's like he stole all the cash out of his old man's wallet and ran to the liquor store and just is loading up on candy bars.
For sure. Yeah, absolutely.
Sorry.
No, it's 100% the truth. You got to have, Monster Energy to keep me going.
Yeah. Well, it works out. Now, you've been with Monster since like 06?
Yeah, so this is 13 or 14 years.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because I remember, and this is a funny memory, and this is a little bit of Wayback Machine. One of my favorites was you had shown up, and this is like 2009 World Finals, and you were on a white ski with the Monster logo, and you're like, well, I like the sugar-free can. I like the white can. Yeah. And so I made my ski like that, but they got mad at me because
they were in my ass about that for sure.
Okay.
They were not happy. I got an email a week after that race. I was in 2010 or 2011. Okay. And 2008, 9, they were all black. 2010, they were black. And 2011, I did just the World Finals, white skis with pinstriping. And Monster was not happy, man. They want their logo on black backgrounds. Yeah.
You were running.
I think they were the best looking skis.
They were the Cowies, right?
Yeah.
The Paxton Supercharged Cowies.
That's it. Yep.
Dude, those were gnarly skis.
Yeah.
You were awesome. Absolutely setting the water on fire.
Yeah.
And I remember we took pictures for the magazine in 2011. It was 2011. And no, it was 2012. Shit, I can't remember. But I remember showing you the picture, and you're like, dude, that looks awesome. And I'm like, dude, this looks so rad. And you're like, I think they're going to get mad because I'm supposed to have a black ski. I'm like, there's no way they can be mad. It's so good looking.
They weren't happy.
I'm sorry that they got mad at you, but I understand they have rules.
Politics, man. You gotta do what they want, which I get it. They want their logo on a specific thing. But I was like you, they make white cans, they make blue cans, they make green cans, orange cans. So for me, what was the difference? It was a one-off race, but I like to ask for forgiveness instead of permission.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you. Well, I remember your national tour in 9 when you were running with. Was it Bobby Endress?
Yeah, Bob. He was just with me last week from Vortex.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. And with Vortex Supercharger, and you had that. It was like a flat black with pinstriped Ultra, and I'm like, without a doubt, those are the best looking skis I've ever seen. I mean, for a full size runabout. Yeah. Hands down. Yeah, and I was like, dude, total rat rod look. Yeah. Super bitching. All your gear matched up. I was like, that guy's putting on a show. That is rad. Yeah, and I was in Parker, Arizona, and nothing could touch you. And I was like, okay, forget it.
Yeah, we won that. We won that whole year. That was a great year. 2010.
Yeah, that was a killer year.
Yeah.
Yeah. Don't get me wrong. I'm remaniscing of 15 years ago, but
no, for
still,
sure. Those were great years. I won the national tour, won the world finals. That was a great years on those Cowie days.
Yeah, that was sick. That was sick. All right, well, let's get back. You mentioned, okay, so you mentioned your boys, and I wanted to bring up your boys. Now, they grew up watching Dad.
Yep.
But the question is, were you kind of like, one day this is going to be you, or was it like, if you're interested, let me know and I'll show you the ropes?
So it's kind of crazy. My oldest son, Devin, he always wanted to race and was into it, and I didn't really have to push him or even ask him to do it. He kind of just wanted to do it, liked riding, started riding a super jet pretty much at a young age, 8 years old or something, started riding for fun and just was kind of always into racing, and just he's always had that mindset that he wanted to race, wanted to be part of it. And my younger son, Talon, it's crazy. Up until he was like 15 years old, 14 years old range, he never rode a jet ski, never rode a watercraft, never rode a wave runner, never by himself, never wanted to do it. And we've always asked him, hey, you want to ride? Do you want to do it? And it was always no. He wouldn't even try it. So we never pushed him. And we'd always joke around, hey, I'll give you $100 if you go try this. I'll give you $100 if you go try this. No. And then one day we were out there and I said, hey, I'll give you $100. And he's like, all right. He went and tried it. And that was, I think, 2019. Okay. And then it was like a month before we went to World Finals. He came to World Finals with us, rode at Body Beach just for fun. And then a month later, we went home and went to the Naples Pro Watercross in Naples. And he raced his first race there, an amateur. He won. And he's been racing ever since.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, but he found it on his own. So cool.
Yeah.
It wasn't like you were beating it. It's not like the Al Bundy, I played football, you're going to play football sort of thing.
No, not at all. He didn't want to have any part of it to begin with. And I let him have his own thing. He was really into soccer and basketball. And, he's still big into that. They, both of my boys played on the high school soccer team for the varsity soccer team. And they played basketball. And so they're both in sports, but my youngest son especially was really, if you said to him, hey, you could go play your soccer game or you got to go to a race and race, he would have picked the soccer game anytime over it, where Devin was the opposite. He would pick a race over anything else.
Well, that's funny. I mean, it's like I got 3 kids. They're all girls because God has a sense of humor. And it's wild because it's like every one of them's their own personality. Everyone's their own, and it's like, hey, listen, Dad's into jet skis and he's into old cars, and I'm not going to push any of that crap on you. But if you're interested, meet me out in the garage. Yeah. It's kind of that way. Speaking of old cars, real quick. First, I don't know if you knew this, but your dad, Phil, and I have the same birthday. So we always wish each other happy birthday on June 13th.
Oh, that's cool.
And, he had, this was I want to say last year. Yeah, it was last year. Your dad went out and got his Corvette.
Yeah.
His C8 Corvette.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, what are you going to do with the vet? He goes, well, I'm doing Power Tour. I'm like, well, I'm doing Power Tour too. And he's like, really? In what? I go, in my Charger. And he goes, oh, okay, well, I'll see you out in Memphis. I said, okay. And I tore the oil pan in construction out of my Charger and had a big oil spill, and that laid me up. I didn't even get the first day in. So, but it was funny because in all the mess, one of the people who was texting me was making sure I was good was your old man. So I got to give you that. I got to give your dad that because he's been with you from the very beginning. And I don't know how we became friends, but I'm totally grateful for your pops. So anyway, I want to give a shout out to Phil on this one. So.
Yeah, he loves doing that Power Tour, hot rod stuff, and
yeah.
But he's gotten weak in his old age. Tell him, now he wants to do it in a brand new car. He doesn't want to go do it in some old clapped out hot rod that has no air conditioner. He's too high class now.
I was teasing him about the Corvette. I'm like, oh, you might as well it's like a Tesla. You just push drive and you can be on your phone and play video games.
Yeah.
He's like, oh, shut up. I don't want you.
Tell him he's soft now.
No, I ain't going to tell you. I'm not going to tell your old man he's soft. Because you want to know why he's gonna show up in that what was that, a 48 Suburban, that GMC?
Yeah, he's got that down at his place in Florida, yeah.
Oh, is your dad living in Florida?
No, he's back and forth. He spends pretty much 99% of the time still in Georgia, but he
Okay.
this last winter he bought a house. Troy Snyder is my buddy, and I do some building stuff with him. With Troy, I'm best to help those guys in the building industry and kind of help them grow the company and stuff a little bit. And my dad also bought a house, had them build a house, and he's living down near there. Got a vacation house down there, like near Bradenton, Florida. So yeah, so if you're in that area, man, go check him out. He's down that direction, and the Snyders build houses. If anybody's out there looking for houses, check it out.
Well, I was going to say one of the things about Farthing Racing, and I'm jumping ahead, but whatever. This is just fun. But in addition to you and your boys, Tori is in your tent as well.
Yeah, I've been friends with Troy pretty much my whole life, obviously, and he's been around, and it's funny because he used to race, and then he quit racing for a long time. And when I was at Riva in the 90s, and Riva actually paid him to come to the races to hold. He was one of my holders back in the day.
No kidding.
And then he's kind of held me always over the years, and helped me at the races and stuff. And then his son and Devin kind of grew up together, and I helped Tori out a little bit and stuff. And they kind of got their own program, but just try to help out a little bit here and there. And it's cool to see. And him and Devin are really good friends. They grew up together, and Tori goes up and stays with him at college, and Devin goes down and stays with him, and they ride together. And it's cool to see that, that side of the business and that friendship.
Well, Tori had a hell of a year, so, good for him. He's really, he's really earning his stripes. He's doing his dad proud. So that's really bitching. I'm really stoked for him.
Yeah. He's rode good this year for sure. In the last couple of years, he's definitely improved, and, definitely one of the bright young stars, these young kids, there's a couple of them that are, coming up, and they're definitely talented kids. And, the biggest thing with, the young kids, they have the talents, just keeping the focus and, the mistakes and stuff to a minimum. And, all these young kids, it's especially, mine, especially, it's, they know how to ride. And sometimes you just want to grab them and shake them. And, what are you doing right now? Because they're just little brain fades.
All right. Well, then I got to ask, and it's like, how is 44-year-old Dustin Farthing? How are you liking being the Jedi Master instead of the young guy now? I mean, you're now Obi-Wan Kenobi. I mean, it's like, what advice are you giving your boys? You're like, learn from my mistakes.
I try to, to tell them all, but I think the biggest thing is, to be honest with you, man, is that when you're young, the Devin and Talon and Tori's age and all these guys, you can tell them everything, and they hear it, but it goes in one ear and out the other. And I was basically the same thing when I was their age. You think you know everything, and you don't think you need to listen, and it's not a big deal. Oh, don't worry. He doesn't know. He doesn't understand. And I was the same way when I was young, man. I thought I know everything. Right. And, but as you learn along the way, man, a lot of mistakes happen, and it sets reminders in your mind that, hey, I need to pay attention here. I need to check up here, slow down here to go faster. And, you learn a lot of those things. And it's, these young kids, man, they're really, really fast, but it's just like you said, it's the experience that stuff you learn along the way, the last, 30 years, that things that I realized I don't have to do at times, and things I got to do other times that, make the experience a big difference.
Right. Well, I mean, again, that's wisdom and experience, and that's something you just can't really buy. That's something that just kind of comes with you doing it.
And it comes to a form of everything, about not only riding, but like little things, like, for example, saving the ski. When you get out in front, people get out in front, get a huge lead, and don't save the ski. You got to slow down here, and it might not be physically, but mentally, and, machines and stuff, especially in the long races like P1, they're 30-minute motos, and, saving the ski when they're in and out of the water, and, making sure they last, because it's a brutal race at times. Yeah.
You need to finish first. That's
100%.
That's 100%. Number one.
Absolutely.
So speaking of that, and speaking of Devin, I mean, this was his first full tour, right? He was shadowing you the whole tour.
He wrote it last year, kind of last minute. We put a program together last minute last year.
Okay.
And it was kind of like maybe a couple weeks before the start of P1. And before P1 last year, he had never rode a runabout ever. He'd never raced a runabout, never done anything. So we took him from a stand-up and threw him into a runabout on a P1 thing immediately. So it was the first race he ever rode on a sit-down watercraft.
Okay. So what are you as a dad and frankly as a coach, what are you seeing in those 2 years? What has he picked up on that, you're like, okay, good. He's getting sharper. He's honing.
So I think the biggest thing is what he's learned is that you got to slow down at times and pay attention. Even this year he had some little bit of brain fades here and there. He tries to pass too early in the race, make a little mistake, stuff like that. He gets anxious. He wants to make the pass immediately, but he's got 30 minutes. He can take an extra 60 seconds on a race like that, especially, and maybe make a little later pass and run to the front because he's got the endurance. He's got, he's 19 years old, man. At 19 years old, you got all the endurance in the world. And, so that's not an issue. But what I've really seen that he's improved with, honestly, is like the rough water riding and the experience of how to turn and how to maneuver a runabout, because stand-up's so small and light and nimble. Same thing, he's rode a blaster most of his life. So those are easy to throw around and move, where the runabout's big. And Devin's not a big kid for his age, where Tori's a very big kid for his age. Him and Devin are the same size, and Tori's got like 6 inches on him and probably like 70 pounds. 60 pounds.
Oh gosh. Yeah.
So it's he can move the ski around a lot more, where Devin's having to learn kind of how to use his body and make that work.
Yeah. Yeah. Tori's built Tori's going to be like his old man.
Oh yeah. He's built. Tori at 14 years old was built like a grown man.
Oh geez. Yeah. I just remember the first time I ever met Troy, I'm like, so you're a boxer, right? Yeah. He had this neck on him. I'm like, okay.
Yeah.
Well, cool. So this is all of this is segueing into the YouTube channel. And I think this is something that I really kind of wanted to talk about. And first it was really funny because I get a message from Greg Gaddis. And Greg's like, dude, have you been watching Dustin's channel? And I said, no, I subscribed to it and I watched the first one, but I've let like 2 or 3 spool up. And he goes, dude, you ever watch like Brian Deegan or the Deegan family? And I was like, yeah, I know a little bit about him. And he goes, same total vibe. You got to watch it. And like, I binged like 4 episodes in a row of Farthing, and I'll bring it up right now. Here, let's do this. And all right, here we go. And so I was like, oh my gosh. And so it was funny catching up. And that's when I messaged you and I was like, hey man, these are great. You're doing a really good job with this. I'm really liking what you're putting out. So I don't think this is necessarily for you. I don't think Dustin Farthing needs more spotlight. No, but I think, if you don't mind me guessing, I think the thing that I'm seeing here is that you're more presenting your sons, and it's like, hey, kids, you can do this like these guys can.
Yeah, I think mostly it's definitely not just the spotlight of myself, because obviously I'm at the back half of my career, like the very back half. And, the sponsors and stuff that I work with and stuff are been sponsored me a long time. And, they're not looking for my racing career. They still sponsor me just because of the relationship. And, I've been with them for so long, and, I've been fortunate enough to have great people around me and great sponsors that continue to, to afford me the life to be able to continue to go racing. But the biggest thing that we created the page about, and, was for one, about the kids, about the boys, and try to get them, some excitement and stuff on that side, and be able to go out and get some outside sponsors and stuff. But the other big thing is just the sport in general, man, which, if you go, follow any top motocrosser, whether it be Roxon, Deegan, Brock Tickle, just any pro motocrosser that's ever raced, whether it be Dungy or any of those guys, they always had YouTube channels, and they're always, pumping up the sport. And you can go out and find at any given time any motocross channel to watch and follow, and what the sport's about, what's happening and what's going on, right? And with Watercraft, it's completely opposite of that. You can't really go out and find a YouTube channel right now that follows along and gives you the backstory and about what's happening and what goes on at the races and how we get there and travel and set up and the mechanics and stuff like we do right now currently. But you can do that all over in motocross. You can do that all over in Formula One or whatever it is. In Watercraft, there's no one that's doing this. And I wanted to, bring the eyes to watercraft racing so people can see what it's about and understand that it's very similar to motocross, and that there's all these racers in motorcycle racing and car racing and go-karts that can, understand now what's going on. I mean, it's crazy. We were, watercraft racing was very profitable for me for a long, long time in my career. And people still would not understand. You race watercraft? What? I don't understand. I mean, I was making a living at 15 years old, and they could not understand that we were even racing watercraft. And now, if we'd have had something like YouTube and all this stuff back in the day, people would have, I think it would have taken off, and it would have been a little bit different that they can follow along.
Well, I think what you're doing is something that a lot of people have been kind of sitting around and waiting for someone else to do it.
Of course.
And that's been that. It's like, someday ESPN's going to start doing this, or one day and it was like, dude, everyone's a promoter right now. Everyone's got social media. Everyone's got access to this. You're there. And I mean, I hate to say it, but it becomes a matter of work ethic.
100%.
And you, quite frankly, have the work ethic to go, all right, F it. I'm going to do it. And what's interesting is that you're presenting jet ski racing at such a tier, at such a high level tier, because it's like the Farthing racing apparatus is a lot bigger than the guy with the pickup truck and the single trailer. You're like, this is a professional team. This is a professional setup. This is how a professional team operates. This is pro level. And in presenting it in that way, I think a lot of people are going, oh, wow, okay, this is legit. This is a big deal.
Yeah, 100%. We, over the years, there's been people that have dabbled in it here and there. And it's just kind of like the way I look at it with whether it be the dealership or racing and everything in general. We have decided as a company, as a family, whatever you want to call it, and said, we're going to do it. If anyone's going to do it, we're going to do it, and we're going to follow it along. And, worst case scenario, we got something to go back and watch later, 20 years from now. We can watch it on YouTube and show our grandkids and our kids' kids, and, and laugh about all the shit that's happened back in the day, and, follow it along. But on the other side is it, like you said, it's got the Deegan 5. So I went out, and said, okay, here's what I want to emulate. How do I do that? So I went out and hired the same guys that do Deegan's YouTube channel. That they're the ones that do mine.
Seriously?
Yeah.
You really got, okay. Well, wow. All right.
Yeah, it's the same guys. Gavin he handles all their YouTube stuff for Deegan's. He does Deegan's. He does Reed's. He does a couple of 3 or 4 other guys in motocross industry. And so we said, okay, who's got the best setup right now? These guys are the ones that are doing the best show, putting on the best field. And, it's we're going to invest the money, right? It's just like anything. I invest in business, real estate, companies, friends, whatever it may be. You got to invest to get a return. So the way I look at it is I went to the manufacturers this year. I went to Yamaha and partnered with them. And we said, hey, we're going to build a top-notch YouTube channel, and we want to partner with you guys. And, that's kind of where the team led from this year. And we said, we're going to go out and build the YouTube channel. And, moving forward, we're going to be the guys that are going to do it. And if you want to come partners with us, man, we want to build something cool that nobody's done before.
Well, so that actually answers the question, because one of the most unique things that I saw was that Farthing Racing was the only factory Yamaha team. So that makes sense that it's a package deal, that you're like, not only are we running a real legit race program, but we're also building a visual representation of the sport, and this will put the product face forward.
Yeah, so we pretty much, looked at it and said, we're located 1 mile from Yamaha's facility. We're located 1 mile from Yamaha's headquarters, from their R&D center as well. And who's better to do it than us? We got the young up-and-coming kids. We got the old guy that can still go out there and win. And we went and presented it to Yamaha that we want to build a partnership that we want to have a long-time future with Yamaha. Yamaha was my first OEM manufacturer, first sponsor in 1992. And they are now Devin and Talon's first OEM sponsor, as well. So we wanted to build that partnership, and Yamaha was on board and wanted to do that as well. And they're looking at the young up and coming kids, and they want to have that longevity with those guys, and they see the value in YouTube and social media. So we partnered with them, worked with Bryce and Bob over at Yamaha, 2 different divisions, the marketing and the race division, and said, how do we go build something that, can, be cool for people to follow along with? So not only do we race for them, but we also handle the marketing side as well. And it's cool to go win on the weekends and all that stuff, but the content that goes back on social media and online is, what sells stuff, after the races are over.
That's outstanding. No, that's fantastic. And I think it makes perfect sense, especially, again, successful race program, youth appeal, social media access. It's kind of a no-brainer. So you kind of showed up to Yamaha saying, I'm going to do your job for you.
Yeah, we went with a good program, and but on the other hand of it, we went there and had to, sell kind of, these guys into it to go, okay, hey, we can handle this. And, obviously let us kind of have a free reign, because obviously we have to make sure that we create content that Yamaha approves with, and make sure we, don't put a bad light on the sport or on the manufacturers. And we've grown and learned about what, is acceptable and not acceptable over the last, couple decades. And I think we did a good job with that with Yamaha this year, and they're super excited. And, we're excited to work with them again next year. And it's definitely a great partnership, man. I couldn't be more thankful. We've had a great relationship this year with them, and it's our first year with them. And, everything is definitely on the rise with that company.
Okay. Question, because of what, the effort that they made into the 1.9 liter, will any of you guys be participating in the naturally aspirated class?
I don't know particularly that, because they don't really have much of that besides on the I think they have a they have an HO class on the P1 series, but pros, they don't offer that class. It's an AM class, I think. Okay. So it's not something we could race, but if they come out with a class for maybe closed course or something, maybe we'll put some guys in it, try to find somebody. But Devin and myself can't this year because of the pro series. But, it's going to be an unbelievable ski. I don't know if you got a chance to ride it yet, but it's crazy how much difference it makes from a 1.9 liter. And it's really cool. We've been kind of using the 1.9 liter for the last year in our GP skis. And so we've been kind of running that engine for the last 12 months in some of our stuff.
Okay. And you've been those are the supercharged one. You've been supercharging those?
Those are turbocharged. The ones we're running.
Turbo.
Those, yep, they're turbocharged.
Okay, so you're running a turbo on the new engine.
Yeah, we're running a 1.9 liter with a turbocharged.
Okay. Now, was that? I'm jumping sequence again, but you got me interested on something, and my inner gearhead's coming out. But you entered into GP class at finals, and that thing was just listening to video. Sounded like a bat out of hell. It was screaming. All right. What can you tell me about that GP boat that you're willing to share?
Yeah, so that ski is literally the best ski on the starting line for sure, hands down. Okay. We had a little bit of a problem with a oil pump gear at the World Finals. We had one moto that had an oil pump gear problem, and we were in the lead by 25-30 seconds when we had that mechanical failure. And then the last moto, we won by about 30 seconds as well. So the ski's got the speed, it's got the power, and everything works good on it, man. We just got to keep the reliability issue. It goes back to, just what you were talking about earlier about when you get out in front, backing it down a little bit, and brain fades with myself just to, your ego comes into play, and you got a huge lead and continue to want to grow that lead.
Okay. So that GP boat was running a turbo 1.9 liter.
Correct.
And was it a Sea-Doo deck, but was it a Sea-Doo hull?
It's a modified Japanese manufacturer, Japanese created hull, aftermarket hull.
Okay.
Yeah, top and bottom. It's all solid carbon fiber, top and bottom.
Top and bottom. Okay.
Correct.
And you said his name. What was his name?
That's Marine Mechanics.
Okay. Marine Mechanics. Okay.
Yep,
and I'm floored that, I know Kaza was probably the first to it, but the saddle, the back braces and the saddles in some of these GP boats, it's just wild that well, I mean, obviously the skis are going, over 90 miles an hour. So it's like, how fast are you going around a corner and the G-force is keeping you in, or trying to pull you out.
We see some G's of close to 6.5 G's. And we see 6 G's, and it'll go 0 to 60 in about 1.7 seconds. And it'll go 0 to 80 in like 2.8 seconds.
All right.
A little over 600 horsepower.
Yeah, little over 600 horse out of a 1.9 liter with a turbo.
And I'll tell you, one of the things is, that the engine is unbelievable, honestly, because we're using the stock oil pump gears and the stock oil pumps that we've actually had some problems with this recently. And those are obviously created for 250, 350 horsepower range. And we're pushing them to 600 horsepower. And, every once in a while we still have some problems, but those engines are doing twice of what they're actually made to do. So, I mean, you got to look at the unbelievable how they are and what they can do.
God. Yeah. It was so funny because I was doing my damnedest to pay attention to what was going on at finals, and my phone just starts blowing up going, "Are you paying attention to what Farthing's on?" And I go, "No." And they're like, you need to find out. And so I started scouring. I go, "Well, he's on a Sea-Doo. That's really weird." And then I was like, no, look. And it's like Yamaha Wave Runner on the side. And then I caught some video, and then you guys put out video pretty quickly.
Yeah.
And so I paid attention to like what little clips were being put up. And I just hear it just popping off. And I'm like, okay. And then you put your videos up, and I'm like, all right, this thing's screaming. And so I had to ask. So, I mean, I know there's a lot of secret sauce in there, and not a lot of guys like to share it, but
you need to come down sometime and do a video and some content for your followers on that particular ski.
I will be, don't tease me with a good time. I will literally come down.
That ski will be those, there's 2 of them, and they're actually on their way to Thailand currently.
Okay. Will they be coming back?
They'll be coming back right at end of January. So when it warms up next season, March, April time, you come down and we'll do like a whole video on it and let you ride it, and you can follow and check it out, man. It's crazy. Yeah.
You can see me ragdoll at 80 miles an hour off the damn thing.
There you go.
Great.
That's what the followers want.
No, it is. You got to give the people what they want. I literally, if you're down, I absolutely will take you up on that, because
absolutely
that would be an absolute treat. I would love.
Yeah, love you too.
That's old PWI stuff. Remember PWI? We'd go ride all the world final winning boats.
Yeah,
I haven't been able to do that in 10 years. So
man, come on, let's do it.
Absolutely. All right. Well, shoot. I'm stoked on that one. All right. So, boy, we talked about that. Okay. Well, you brought up Thailand. So tell me about everyone who comes back from King's Cup is like, this is the gold standard.
Yeah.
What are they doing right?
They do everything right, man. To be honest with you, it's it's an unbelievable event. I started going over there in 2003. Went 2003 again in 2006, and 2005, 2006, and then 2019, and then 22. And it's just everything about the event, from professionalism to race course to location to transportation. Every single thing is top notch. They have giant bleachers like you're at Formula One. They have giant bleachers all the way down the beach. They have tents set up for all the race teams for each country. So the racers don't have to bring anything. Everything is set up for you. You go into your race area. You have credentials for different areas. They have the live television in like so many different countries. They have social media stuff going on. They have vendors set up. They have, it's just, the military comes out, presents the trophies at the end of the event. It's just like it'd be like going to a Formula One. They have full military comes out, armed guards come present the trophies at the final day. It's just unbelievable. I cannot say enough about the event. It was put on originally by the King of Thailand, and then he passed
Okay.
away, and they continue to still put on the event just under a different name. It's not called the King's Cup anymore. It's called the World Series, but it's the same event, same type of thing, but it's a different trophy. It looks a little different than it used to back in the day, but same event.
Okay. Okay. Now, speaking of that, and you mentioned something about, you mentioned race courses, something that just sprung up today, and Kevin Ryderer had shared it all over social media, and I couldn't help but notice both your signature and Devin's signature, was the petition for a racer council on track design.
Yeah, so that's kind of, I think they've been in the works with that for a little bit. That's kind of my son's side of it, to be honest with you. And I know Jessica had reached out to me about speaking with Devin on it. And he was one of the ones that was helping give some input on that. And he's kind of just filling me in on what's going on. But yeah, I've let him kind of take over that side of the business on that, what's going on with that. But I think from what I do know, it's definitely the right direction. I know they're focused on trying to get safe tracks for racers, trying to get competitive tracks for the new skis, trying to make it where it's good for spectators and also safety side of it as well. So, I support what they got going and stuff, and hopefully they can get the right council together and work with the promoters to see both sides of it. And there's got to be a little give and take, obviously, from both sides. But I think if they get the right people involved and the right people on the board, they can definitely make it happen.
Yeah, I mean, the more you can involve the racers, the more that you can better represent the product, being the watercraft themselves. And then, of course, the better access that the spectator has to the event. Because, I mean, it's like, I remember I was talking with Craig Warner, and it was like, dude, the worst part about offshore racing was that you don't see anything.
Right.
They take off and then they're gone. And you're like, oh, okay, great. But I liked what I saw, and that's why I got Jessica to reach out. So I'm glad that she already reached out today. That's good news.
She did.
Again, any progress that can be made in improving the sport, I think is overdue.
I definitely agree. I think the industry has changed over the years. The skis have become a lot faster. The skis have become a lot larger, and the tracks have stayed kind of the same for the last 15 years. And we definitely need some changes, some safety changes, obviously, with things. And I think the right people are involved, in the racers that are behind it. There's Rederer, Perret, Quentin. A lot of these guys have a lot of experience. They've been in it a long time, and they're the ones that are kind of pushing it. And I think that they'll make that side of it happen. And the promoters and stuff like Drake and those guys from Thailand, they're very receptive and great people. And I've always had great working relationships with those guys from when I started going there in the early 2000s. So I think they want to see the industry get better. They want to see the sport succeed. And I think they're all about it. And I think the guys in Europe and stuff as well. We got to get a little better at US on some things, but I think if we can get some the right direction maybe going, maybe we can make that happen.
Yeah, and I think maybe it just takes a little bit of monkey see, monkey do.
Correct.
Wherein you get a really good example, you get a really good program happening in Thailand or in Europe, and they go, well, hey man, we can do that. That's easy. Let's knock that out, and that might finally start to trickle down into the U.S.
Correct.
I hate to see the U.S. being second or third place.
Yeah. We joke around a lot because as well as I do, you've been in it a long time. We were the gold standard for watercraft racing for decades, man. Everybody wanted to come to America for the best races, the best skis. We created the best products. We were light years ahead of everyone. I would travel to foreign countries for races, and I would feel like I went back in time. And now I feel like when I go to an American race, we've gone back in time, and I go to European and Thailand races, and I mean, they are so far ahead of us. I mean, I applaud them because they have their shit together for sure.
Man, that just, it hurts. It hurts from having seen a true national tour, and seeing qualifiers and seeing finals being the finals. And
I agree with you.
I mean, don't get me wrong, I was never on the starting line like you were, but I was up in the grandstands, but man, I'll tell you.
Still, you've been there. You understand it.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, one more thing I wanted to bring up to the audience, and I think this is a big deal, is for you guys, first and foremost, if you haven't already, please go over to Farthing Racing on YouTube. If you haven't subscribed yet, do it. If you haven't done it yet, you're a fool. You got to do it. It's not only is it entertaining, but it's a really good kind of, I say, access pass to the world of racing. You get a really good view of how a race team operates. Plus, they do a really damn good job of race coverage. That is, music and editing, and you just get stoked, and there's it makes you want to go out and ride. I mean, it's really just bitching. Yeah,
it's really like motocross back in the day when you go watch some motocross videos and then you want to go ride your dirt bike and stuff. It's very similar to that.
100%. 100%. The other thing to it that, I mean, I know I hinted at this before, but I really do think that this channel will be useful in helping youth get stoked on racing and say, oh, well, damn, I want to do that too. And I think that is going to be worth its weight in gold. I mean, absolutely so necessary for our industry and for our sport is getting that fresh blood and getting those young guys in and seeing Devin and Talon and Tori and all these guys who are young. I mean, Camden, we just did an article on Camden with Riva Racing, and he's showing up there with a Cowie, and it's like, oh, bitching. All right, everyone, come on in, get in.
Yeah, that's what you need. You need all the other all the other manufacturers. It's cool to see Camden. You rode great this year, and then you got Sea-Doo, and so it's competitive, right? You need everybody there to make good racing and stuff, right? That's why Yamaha wants to race. They want to beat the other manufacturers, right? And that's what we need them all to come. So all these other racers, manufacturers, stuff, keep racing, man. That's what allows the manufacturers to keep supporting the sport.
Right. And let's not fool ourselves, guys. Any performance gains, any performance parts that you're seeing today exist solely because of racers.
Correct.
All right. I cannot tell you how many things Dustin Farthing himself has been involved with, whether breaking stock parts or helping test and pioneer parts. It's guys like Dustin. It's guys like all the other racers that we've had here on this channel who've been instrumental in providing product that the normal Joe can call up Riva or call up Works and go, hey, I need X. And it's because of racers like that. So again, I think that's a huge deal. First, go to the YouTube channel. I want to see subs going up big time. And if you guys want more info on Farthing Racing, we got you go to farthingracing.com. And they'll have the links to the YouTube channel, the social media accounts like Instagram and Facebook and YouTube, of course. You also have bios on Dustin and his two sons. You got Devin and Talon. And, here he is on the blaster. Hot damn. Yep. I love it.
Yeah, he's out on a runabout now, too, as well for P1. He never rode a runabout before this year. And, he went straight into amateur P1 this year and won his first race he went to, man. It was awesome. So
that's sweet.
Yeah.
Now, is he going to be racing amateur again, or is he now in pro?
I'm waiting for him to decide. I told him he could go either way. I'm leaving it up to him. But, we're going to run a 24 program again for Yamaha. And so we're going to be on Yamaha products again. So Devin and I definitely in the pro class, and then we'll wait to see what Talon decides, whether it be amateur or pro. He could go either direction. He could definitely win the amateur class if he does it again. He could have won it this year. Skipped, obviously, the last race for homecoming, and we were in France for one of the other races. I was actually on me because me and Devin were gone racing, and Talon had to come with us. So he almost won, man, and missed 2 races.
Ah, shoot. Oh, man. Okay. Well, I'm excited for him. I'm excited for him. I think Devin's taken off, and I love the competition between he and Tori. and the other young guns.
Absolutely.
And if they're chasing you, then we get more of the we get more of the trash talk.
Oh, I can't. What I tell them, man, I happily let them want them to win, but I'm not gonna just hand it over to them. I had to earn my wins, and these guys are gonna have to earn their wins. If you wanna hold the title, if you're the best, you have to beat the best.
That's right. Good. Yeah, you got to play king of the mountain a little bit.
You got to, man. Plus, I got to be the best in the house so I can talk shit in my house.
As long as you're living under my roof.
That's it.
All right. Hey, Devin, can we get you for a couple more minutes? I called you Devin. Holy crap. Dustin, can we get you for a couple more minutes? We have some super chats. These are people who pay to ask questions.
Absolutely.
And it's not very often that people get a chance to pick your brain.
Absolutely.
So for you guys who have super chats who've been waiting for this section, bring them in. I'm going to go through the super chats that have already come in. And Billy Duplessis is here. Everyone take a drink. Billy's here.
There you go.
Billy's like Norm at Cheers. We always have to welcome Billy. All right. So we've got, let's see here. I know we got, Chuck Perkins is telling you to open up a store in Dallas, Texas.
I like Dallas.
All right. Mikey writes, he goes, let me bring that up. All right. Mikey writes, I finished my first season racing at East Coast Watercross, and I want to get into P1. What kind of off-season training routine do you have to keep your body ready for the punishment? I do CrossFit right now.
CrossFit's a great training format for P1. We do similar. I don't actually go to a CrossFit, but I have a trainer that I work with full time, and we do very similar type of training to CrossFit. It's the biggest thing is for watercraft racing or any type of racing, whether it be motocross, snowmobiles, anything. You don't need a ton of weights. You don't need a ton of upper body, big muscular walking around where you can't scratch your back or move. The biggest thing I can tell you is, do all your movements, try to exercise as much you can with CrossFit style workouts, whether it be that type of gym or your own program, and try to keep the weight low so you don't get too big, because the problem is you get arm pumped. The longer when you race, you start getting pumped up and the blood doesn't flow. Your hands go to sleep, and work on your cardio, man. Cardio and stretching. The biggest thing is, the older I've gotten, and I wish when I was young, people used to tell me all the time, you got to stretch more, you got to stretch. And I didn't listen. And my sons, they still don't listen now. I tell them to stretch after every race. They don't. And then, they're going to be tight later down the road. And stretching is the biggest thing, man. And as much as anything, I would love to go back and just stretch as much as I worked out.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I heard flexibility, that's keeping your knees and your tendons stretching strong.
Absolutely. Yeah. And then, the biggest thing is just watching your diet and routine, and, just keeping yourself a routine. The biggest thing is, he's asking about what he should put his body through, staying on a steady regiment, all the way through, not, a week or two before your race, keeping a steady routine, whether it be 3, 4, 5 days a week, whatever you got time for, but doing it every week, continuous, whether it be the same time. Try to set a routine so you get your mind into that, because it's very similar to what you do in racing. You got to do, you got to show all the time, not when you can. You got to do it on a set routine.
Very good. Very good. And start every day with a bowl full of Skittles.
That's it. You can't go wrong there. Some Lucky Charms.
All right. Okay. We got another one from Mikey. He writes, he's asking you, how do you like the new FX hull being SMC fiberglass versus the previous Nano XL hull? He says, I have a 21, but I was thinking of getting the more solid hull. In your opinion, what are the pros and cons?
So Devin actually rode a 21 hull last year in P1. And, now we've gone to the 23 hulls. I used the 22 hull last year, and Devin was on a 21, where we used all 23s this year. The biggest thing that I see in the improvement is, I think for racing and for rough water, the new 22, 23 hull is actually better in the rougher stuff, because it's a little bit heavier. It's a little stronger, obviously, but it's a little heavier, which makes it go through the water better, stay hooked up better, and drive better through the chop. So I personally think the new hulls are definitely the way to go. and go to your dealer, man, and swap that thing out for a new one. And you're going to definitely going to feel a difference, and you're going to have so much more reliability better with the new hulls.
Yeah, it's going to soak up a lot of that vibration,
Absolutely.
a lot of the jolts. There's a reason fiberglass is fiberglass, and it's survived this long. And while lightweight and nano shaves, weight, less weight is more speed, and that's great. But I think going to the SMC hull is, over the long term, going to be less wear and tear on you and less wear and tear on the ski itself.
And I don't think that, the riders and consumers have to worry about the speed either, because the motors have so much horsepower. And with the tunes and the modifications, ride plate intake grates, sponsons that you can do to them nowadays, the skis have enough power that you don't even know if it's an extra 10 or 15 pounds heavier. There's so much power to make up for it.
Right. Yeah. No, I don't think it's a power issue at all.
Absolutely not.
Precisely what you said. You can literally reflash the ECU and you're like, okay, well, I'm at 76 right now, 78 without breathing hard.
Yeah, so 78 mile an hour P1 boats, they don't even notice the difference in the weight.
Yeah. Well, there you go. All right. David, we got one from David. He writes, Dustin, did you ever do super course racing in Central Texas in the early 2000s? MotoGP style sweeping turns.
I personally did not do any of that type of racing, but I know what it is. I saw back in the 2000s when they were doing that in Texas. I think like in the Houston, Dallas areas, they was pretty popular. But I personally never did any of that type of racing. But it kind of reminds me, the Supercourse kind of reminds me of like P1 tracks, honestly, a little bit. Yeah. The P1 tracks maybe not as tight as, or sweeping as they were, but it's very similar to the same, mindset of where I think they got the ideas from.
Yep. Well, I think, and I liked what they were trying to do with the Supercourse tracks, because, and this is early advent of the 4-stroke, and you start seeing bigger skis, and they were trying to really distance themselves from the early runabout, XP tracks, and go into these large, less complicated tracks, so that you were really into the throttle and you were really full speed. So I really like that idea. Right now, like what you were racing your 600 horsepower turbo boat on, that course wasn't necessarily advantageous to exactly that watercraft, because you could really wring that thing out, but that course was so tight and it was so technical that you were into the speed for half a second.
Correct. Yeah, that's true.
All right. Believe it or not, we got another one from Mikey. He is absolutely loving picking your brain. He writes, to follow up with my first question, what's a good in-water training routine / step up for the off season? Do you set up a buoy course to practice regularly?
So I think he stated in his first question, he wanted to possibly go into P1 racing, correct?
Yes.
So I would, any type of on-water riding that you can do is great. Seat time is the best thing. When I was young, I used to constantly ride all the time and spend as much time I can on a watercraft. And I try to teach my sons the same thing, even if it's just riding with your friends and riding through the lake, just even riding straight, going wide open through boat chop, and there's, whatever's going on. It teaches you the feel of understanding of what your ski is going to do. If you're running on the back straightaway at 80 miles an hour and all of a sudden it's, 2-3 feet chop, you understand what the boat's going to do at that point and what's going to happen. And the only way you can really learn those things is just seat time and ride the ski. And I think, setting up a course is always, helpful. Even if it's a P1 style course where it's big sweeping turns, it kind of teaches you where you got to turn, when to turn, because obviously if you're just riding around a lake, you can make turns wherever you want. And you can slow down as much as you want to make whatever turn you want to make. But if it gives you a point of reference to go off of, it definitely helps. But, the biggest thing is ride as much as you can, as many skis as you can, spend as much time on it. And the other thing I like to do is when I was young and I still do it in the wintertime now is whether, depending on where you live, ride motocross if you got a dirt bike, ride snowmobiles if you got snowmobiles, because all of those things translate over to watercraft. You know, I grew up racing motocross as a kid. I used to race arena cross in the wintertime. I raced 2 seasons of snowcross, and you know, all that stuff translate over to how you handle watercraft, because they're very similar to the same motions and the same training and mindset of how you ride.
Yeah, I love that you said you're training your mindset as to what the machine that wants to do and how your body's going to respond to it. Where do you put body English? Where are you placing your weight? You know, reading the water, you know, like you said, exactly what you said about, you need to know what that ski wants to do at 80 miles an hour, when all of a sudden you've got cross chop that you weren't, you know, you're reading a pattern, all of a sudden the pattern changes. What is the ski going to want to do?
Absolutely. You know, I mean, I've been racing. This is my 31st season, and 31 years I've been racing, man. And nowadays with the GP skis, for example, you know, going mid 90s, and you know, I always thought that I understood exactly what happens at certain speeds, right? But when you haven't raced GP class in several years, I mean, the last time I did a full season of GP, or even the last time I raced some races before I went back to GP recently, was 2016. And 2016 to now, it's, you know, 6-7 years difference. So I thought I remember what it was like to ride a GP ski. And then, you know, after spending some time on it, now I realize in the last 6 months, man, I'm completely comfortable like I was, you know, 5, 6, 7 years ago, where I thought I was comfortable, but I really wasn't 100% comfortable. But now I've got all that understanding of what's going on at those speeds, and the skis move so fast and the thing happens so quick, and the reaction times. And I try to tell people that even race stock class, they go from stock runabout class to a GP runabout.
Oh, no way.
A lot of people can't make that transition, because if you're going through a split course, like you watch a World Finals, you have normally, let's say you have 2 seconds or 3 seconds between buoys on a stock boat. You have 1 second on a runabout, you know, in GP class. So your feet have to be in the right place twice as fast. Your hands, everything's happening. It's like flying a fighter plane and the reaction times of what's going on around you at that speed happens fast.
Yeah, no, that transition from a stock class boat to GP, I mean, it's
15 miles an hour difference.
Yeah, but I mean, that, not just speed, but I mean, how it handles, I mean, stock class is very, very restrictive as to what you can do to that machine. Absolutely. You know, and it was like, hey, there used to be a natural progression where you went from stock class to limited, from limited to pro, and from pro to GP. Yeah. And it's like, no, I'm just going over here.
Yeah. Yeah. People get some fast stuff nowadays, and they're like, what's going on?
Yeah, no, that's a quick way to get really hurt. Okay. We got one more super chat, and then I'm going to let you go, because we've ran 15 minutes over what I promised you. All right. Anthony writes, how hard was the Carry Jet races?
It's one of the most brutal races I've ever been a part of. I've raced it 6 times and won it 4. I've won it 4 times out of 6.
You won 4 times?
Yep.
Wow, yep. Man, I thought I owe you an apology. I thought you'd only won 3 times, but okay. Yeah. Because I looked it up and I was like, I know that he's won them, and
I won it before it actually was called it was a different series when it was early.
The Guadalupe race.
Yeah, it was in the early 90s. It was actually called something a little different, but it was the same series, same promoter. It was less time, less distance, less days, but 3 times since it's been called the Career Jet. And I raced, I think, 4 or 5 times in that series, and won it 3 times. But it's one of the most nasty, brutal races. It's rough, it's long, and it really tests the mental part of it. What it goes back to is waking up every day knowing you got, you know, another 200 miles to go. And you really test your days on the last couple days, right? And you get up in the morning and you go to use the bathroom, and you look and try to sit down, and your legs are hurting so bad, and you're trying to find something to hold yourself up with because your hamstrings are so tight. And you know you got 200-300 miles left to go, and it's a mental race, man. I'm not gonna lie. And when you're racing, it becomes mental too, because you're out there, you're by yourself, you're going from checkpoint to checkpoint, and you see times, man, you come around one part of the island and you're heading towards this giant rock that you can see 40 miles, 30 miles away, barely see it. And you just have to keep the focus. And the hardest thing is you set a speed, and then if you're in front, okay, is my speed good? Am I people behind me catching me? If I'm chasing, am I going fast enough? Am I going the right direction? Everything starts happening. Is the ski going to make it? Am I physically ready to complete this? And, gas stops. And it is your mind, it goes running nonstop.
Yeah. It's correct. Is it 3 days and 500 miles?
Yes. It's now the final one was Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Yeah. So 3 days. Yeah. And it's a little right at 500 miles.
Okay.
Yeah.
God,
and not only is it 500 miles, it's not 500 miles on the lake.
No.
You go to the Marcon, and it can get rough. It can get choppy. But we're talking on the average day, it might be, Han might be 3 foot chop. You're coming around a point. I'm not exaggerating. I've come around the point at Guadalupe before and be 15 feet for 60, 80 minutes.
Yeah. Just. And
go look up from my Facebook page and Instagram stuff and see some of the helicopter shots. And there'll be stuff, where a helicopter is shooting, so high off the ground, and I'm only 10, 15 foot off the helicopter. So, 15-foot wave, you're jumping 10 foot above it. You're 25 foot in the air.
Oh, you can see the shadow underneath your boat.
Correct.
That's how you measure how absolutely balls out gnarly that event is.
Yeah. It's a hard race to win, and there's not a lot of people in the world that have won it one time, let alone 3. And everyone that's won that race, man, it's they understand how difficult it is, and I give props to anyone that's won it, because I've taken some of the best people in the world. You obviously know Craig Warner is one of the best endurance riders in the world, and he's never won it once. It's very difficult to win. Yeah,
and it is, like exactly as you said, a true test of both machine and man.
100%.
You'll see locals who ride in this locally. This is what they do for fun.
Yeah.
And they'll come in and they're no hood, no seat, the skis torn up, the bars bent. And you're like, what the hell just happened out there? The guy got attacked by a bear. It's ridiculous.
And they love to bring Americans there. They pay me to come there, pay Americans to come there just so they can try to beat you. Yeah, they want to they want to bring you to their home, to their country, so they can beat you. It's an ongoing joke, because I've become friends with the promoters that put it on. And every year I'm like, well, you guys like want to pay us back. Obviously, it's like every year they want to just beat us.
They just beat the Americans.
That's it.
Oh, that's funny. All right. Well, hey, Dustin, I really got to thank you, man. This was a lot of fun. I really appreciate your time and hanging out with us tonight. Monday nights, it's hit or miss. And I think we maxed out at 100 people at one point, but these tick. So this will end up having a couple thousand views.
Yeah.
But I know we had a couple comments going, man, we only had like 37 people. I'm like, it'll spool up. Don't worry.
Yeah.
But events like Carry Jet. More guys are coming in. They're talking about Carry Jet. Anyway, but Dustin, I really want to thank you guys. I really want to thank you for coming in and sharing a little bit of your stoke with us. That was really cool. Guys, again, if you haven't already, go to YouTube, check out Farthing Racing, and you'll love what you see. If you're remotely into performance jet skis, you're going to love what you see. It's going to be great. And do you have like do you update once a week or every 2 weeks, or what's your schedule?
Yeah, we try to update once a week. We're going to, it was kind of busy over the Havasu time. We didn't get a chance to update properly, but this winter we're going to focus on, and everybody that's kind of watching and following along, we're going to do some more stuff this coming winter, more tech tips. We're going to show some motors being torn apart. We're going to show some race skis being built. We're going to show you some behind the scenes stuff that, maybe other people want to check out more than just racing. And we're going to show some training. We're going to show some training videos. So anyone that's into racing wants to follow around with tech tips or training routines and stuff, if they want to get into racing or how they get into it, we're going to show all that moving forward. So, I appreciate you having the show. I know it's takes time away for you on a Monday from your family and stuff as well. And everybody that follows along, and all the fans that came to follow it along and check it out. So thanks everyone for tuning in, and hopefully you guys got some good information. And like he said, follow the YouTube page, like, subscribe it, and we'll have some good, cool content coming out. I promise.
Very cool. Well, thank you again, Dustin. Guys, for all of you who tuned in tonight, we're going to sign out. Have a great night. Have a great week. We'll talk to you soon. And if you have any more questions, you know where to reach me. It's info@watercraftjournal.com. And we'll see you next week. Have a good night.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate it.